For thousands of years, the pyramids of Egypt stood silently in the desert, hiding the secrets of one of the greatest civilizations in history. But here's the question. How did a civilization rise in the middle of a desert and go on to build monuments that still amaze the world today? Who were the people before the pharaohs? How was Egypt united into a single kingdom? And how did that journey eventually lead to the construction of the Great Pyramids? In this video, we're exploring the complete early history of ancient Egypt, from the first settlements along the Nile to the rise of kings, dynasties, and the beginning of the Pyramid Age. The story of ancient Egypt begins with the Nile River, the lifeline of an entire civilization. While most of the surrounding land was dry and unforgiving, the Nile brought water, fertile soil, and the opportunity for life to flourish. Every year, seasonal floods spread nutrient-rich mud across the valley, creating perfect conditions for farming. As crops grew, people settled near the river instead of constantly moving from place to place. Over time, these settlements became the foundation of one of history's greatest civilizations. Long before the pharaohs appeared, Egypt was home to several prehistoric cultures. Archaeological discoveries show that people living along the Nile gradually shifted from hunting and gathering to farming and animal domestication. Communities in places like the Fayum Oasis developed agriculture, fishing, pottery, and food storage systems. Villages became larger, societies became more organized, and tribal leaders began gaining influence. Without realizing it, these early communities were laying the groundwork for a future kingdom. As centuries passed, new cultures emerged across Egypt. In Lower Egypt, settlements expanded and farming became more advanced. In Upper Egypt, societies such as the Badarian and Naqada cultures developed increasingly complex homes, trade networks, and burial traditions. One of the most important changes during this period was the beginning of mummification practices and the development of larger cemeteries. These cultural advances reveal a society becoming more sophisticated with each generation. Another breakthrough arrived around 3400 BC with the development of early hieroglyphic writing. For the first time, Egyptians could record information, manage resources, and preserve knowledge. Trade with neighboring regions increased, bringing new ideas and materials into Egypt. Cities such as Abydos, Naqada, and Nekhen became important centers of power. Competition between these growing cities would soon change Egypt forever. By the late Predynastic period, several powerful city-states were competing for influence. Conflicts over trade routes, resources, and territory became increasingly common. Eventually, one ruler emerged above the rest. Around 3000 BC, King Narmer united Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom. This achievement marked the beginning of Egyptian recorded history and the First Dynasty. For the first time, Egypt stood united under one ruler, creating the foundation for centuries of stability and growth. The early dynastic period transformed Egypt into a powerful centralized state. Kings such as Narmer and his successors expanded trade, strengthened government institutions, and established the idea of divine kingship. Pharaohs were not viewed as ordinary rulers, they were believed to be chosen by the gods. During this period, writing systems improved, cities expanded, and Egyptian culture began taking the recognizable form that would endure for thousands of years. The First Dynasty produced several important rulers, but it also established traditions that would define Egypt for generations. Monumental tombs known as mastabas became increasingly common, reflecting growing beliefs about the afterlife. Powerful rulers such as Den strengthened the kingdom through military campaigns, economic reforms, and large construction projects. Egypt was becoming wealthier, more organized, and more ambitious with every passing generation. After the First Dynasty came the Second Dynasty, a period that remains mysterious to historians. Records from this era are limited, and many events are still debated. Despite episodes of instability and internal conflict, Egyptian society continued to develop. Trade flourished, religion became more influential, and royal authority remained strong enough to preserve the unity of the kingdom. By the end of the dynasty, Egypt was prepared for another major transformation. That transformation arrived with the Third Dynasty and a pharaoh named Djoser. Unlike previous rulers, Djoser would leave behind a monument that changed architecture forever. To bring his vision to life, he relied on one of the most brilliant minds in Egyptian history, Imhotep. Architect, scholar, engineer, and royal advisor, Imhotep designed a structure unlike anything the world had ever seen. The result was the step pyramid of Saqqara. Originally inspired by traditional mastaba tombs, Imhotep stacked multiple levels on top of one another, creating the world's first monumental stone pyramid. Standing over 60 meters tall, it became the tallest structure of its time. More importantly, it proved that Egyptian builders possessed extraordinary engineering skills. The step pyramid was not just a royal tomb, it was the beginning of a new architectural age. The success of Djoser's pyramid inspired future pharaohs to think even bigger. Builders experimented with new designs, construction techniques, and larger projects. The achievements of the Third Dynasty created the blueprint for the true pyramids that would appear during the Old Kingdom. Egypt was entering its most famous era, often called the Age of the Pyramids. During the Old Kingdom, rulers such as Snefru perfected pyramid construction, paving the way for the legendary monuments at Giza. Under pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, some of the most extraordinary structures in human history rose above the desert. These pyramids became symbols of Egypt's wealth, power, and engineering genius. Even today, thousands of years later, they remain among the greatest mysteries and achievements of the ancient world, reminding us of a civilization that transformed a river valley into an empire remembered forever.